got an update. A judge orders Trump administration to provide evidence in Khalil case. This is an update to a story we have brought you since day one. Let's put it up for a mass. There's a lot here. So a judge has given the Trump administration 24 hours to provide evidence of Mahmoud Khalil's removability. An immigration judge has given the lawyers representing the Department of Homeland Security 24 hours to provide Khalil's legal team with evidence that he is in fact removable from the U.S. under the allegations thrown against him. There's a lot to it. All right, so a reminder, ICE officers decided to arrest Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil, a leader in Columbia University's encampment movement. We covered that thoroughly on Indisputable. Last month, claiming that his student visa had been revoked, okay? At an immigration hearing in Louisiana on Tuesday, Judge Jamie Comins set another hearing for Friday to give Khalil's legal team time to review the evidence and respond to it. Comins said she will then make a determination if he is removable or order him to be released. In a statement released multiple hours after the hearing, Khalil's lawyer, Mark Van Der Hoot, criticized the timeline, arguing the government hasn't produced a single shred of evidence to support its allegation. The attorney added, quote, yet the immigration judge today stated she intends to rule Friday on the merits of this outlandish charge with no realistic opportunity for Mahmoud and his lawyers to contest this baseless charge. The attorney said in the statement, if this turns out to be what happens Friday, it would be an uncalled for rush to judgment that would completely deprive Mahmoud of any due process, which is a foundation of our legal system, end quote. The court hearing earlier Tuesday grew tense at times with the judge at one point saying there were nearly 600 people waiting to attend the virtual hearing that was reserved for legal parties only, saying this was highly unusual. Well, so is the snatch and grab of an individual from Columbia University who led a student protest that you may disagree with via the government. Here's another dynamic that is quite ironic and obviously something we all need to pay attention to. Whatever this judge says on Friday sets precedent. It seems as if this is what they're attempting to do. They are flooding the judicial system with all of these ridiculous cases that really don't hold constitutional muster. But if they can get a judge willing to bend the rules, they got precedent, and that's what they're searching for, in my opinion. Noting the public interest in the case, the attorney asked the judge to consider making future hearings accessible to the public. But she refused and said she was considering making all future hearings in person only, so all of his lawyers would need to attend in person. Mr. Khalil was seated wearing a blue jumpsuit. He only said a handful of words throughout the hearing. At one point, he asked the judge if his wife, Noor Abdallah, could also be allowed to have access to the video feed. Quote, Your Honor, I would appreciate it if you could let my wife in, he asked. When she was let in, she was shown on the big screen. Khalil turned to look at her and then returned his gaze to the front of the room. Khalil's wife is due to give birth within a couple of weeks. That's according to the attorney. During the last hearing, Khalil's lawyers were granted continuance to give additional time to review the allegations raised against him in the notice to appear filed by DHS. The judge again grew agitated when the attorney asked for a continuance a second time and claimed lawyers representing DHS had not provided evidence to back up the allegations against his client. I don't know why this judge is getting irritated at the defense when it is upon the government to provide this information via discovery. And if the defense does not have this information, then you should be upset at the government for not providing it because they have a right to it. You have a right to the information. And I get what the attorney is saying. He's basically saying, listen, we may be getting railroaded on Friday and never having the opportunity to review the information in full to give a rebuttal. If you're going to make a decision on Friday and there's no information, how do we have time to prepare to defend whatever the government brings? He makes a fair point, more than a fair point. It's a constitutional point. So what is this case about? Is this case about the Constitution? Is this case about an individual who echoed an opinion that may be disliked by others? Is this case about getting rid of due process for other individuals? Because I remember there was a Supreme Court justice who said very publicly, known to be a conservative, during an interview, that if you are in the United States of America, you have the right of due process, regardless of your status. Now, we changing that? All right, Dan, thoughts here.
Yeah, regardless of your status and regardless of your opinions, as long as you're not breaking our laws. You know, as you said a few minutes ago, Doc, in a different story, these are the moments that determine who you are as a person and what you stand for, not just when somebody agrees with you, because free speech is, of course, not an issue when someone agrees with you. It's challenged when people don't agree with you. You know, I'm Jewish, I'm Israeli. This has been a very hard year and a half. I think in a lot of ways, people are not understanding the root causes. I think that in a lot of ways, while the Israeli government has been very bad and aggressive in a lot of ways, I think people skip over how terrible and destructive the terrorist organization of Hamas is. That said, I will always stand for people's right and freedom to protest for a free Palestine, to protest for an end to what they see as injustice. And if that is all that Mahmoud Khalil did and organized such protests, he should be allowed to stay in this country forever and do that forever and challenge our thoughts and challenge our ideas. If he indeed did what he has been accused of without evidence, if it's proven he did those things like physically intimidating Jewish students, harassing, occupying buildings against the law, being here is a privilege on a student visa and is not guaranteed. But you must present that evidence. If the government is not wanting to present hard evidence of what they're accusing people of, then due process disappears, and much more gravely, the entire basis of what makes this nation supposedly so special disappears. You don't get to disappear people based on hearsay, based on what you think they might have done, based on what you heard that they might have been engaged in. You present hard evidence and a court decides whether or not the evidence passes the muster to remove someone's student visa or to let them stay here and protest in a nation built on protest and standing up to power and dissenting opinions. That's what makes us so great.
There you go, well said. And as I explained before, I'm a college professor on campus. We have many individuals who are there on student visas. Typically, it is the school, the institution, who would rip that student visa away due to non-compliance, not attending class, academic probation. There are a number of reasons why. But in this case, it was not the institution, which made it even more rare that this has happened.